narcissistic men bow to no one, that they're untouchable, unstoppable, above all rules. But what if I told you every narcissist is secretly a slave, not to you, not to love, but to three invisible masters that own him completely, that control his every move, his every lie, his every mask. These masters whisper in his mind, dictate his choices, and destroy every relationship he touches. Once you see who they are, you'll never see his power the same way again. The first invisible master is shame. He hides it beneath arrogance, but it's always there, gnawing, burning, relentless. Shame is the ghost that follows him everywhere. Every time he humiliates you, it's not power he's seeking, it's relief. Relief from the unbearable weight of not feeling enough. His cruelty is his shield, his silence, his weapon. Shame owns him, and every superior act is a desperate attempt to silence it. The second master is fear. Fear of being seen, fear of losing control, fear of love, because love requires surrender. A narcissistic man will do anything, destroy relationships, rewrite reality, even erase you, just to avoid facing himself. He builds a kingdom of control, not because he's powerful, but because he's terrified. His confidence is counterfeit, his dominance an illusion. Fear pulls every string behind his puppet show. And the third master is validation. He feeds on admiration like oxygen. Without it, he suffocates. Every compliment, every admirer, every conquest is not joy, but survival. He doesn't love you. He needs you to love him. The moment you stop, his world begins to collapse. Because without external applause, there's nothing left inside. No identity, no core, just emptiness echoing through the hollow shell he calls himself. So remember this. When a narcissistic man tries to control you, insult you, or break you, he's not showing strength. He's revealing slavery. He's bowing to shame, trembling before fear, and begging for validation. These are his invisible masters, the unseen rulers of his world. And the moment you see that, you take back your power. Because freedom begins when you stop envying the mask and start seeing the chains. Every narcissist presents himself as the master, the one in control, the one who sets the tone, the one who cannot be shaken. But beneath the polished mask, the truth is quietly tragic. He is not free. He is enslaved to the very illusions that make him look powerful. His arrogance is not confidence, it's armor. His control is not strength, it's fear disguised as authority. The narcissist lives in a cage made of his own false self, a cage so convincing that even he believes it. But make no mistake, he is not the master of this illusion. He is its prisoner. The narcissistic man spends his life performing. Every gesture, every word, every relationship is carefully staged to maintain the image that he is untouchable. He cannot afford to be vulnerable because vulnerability would expose the emptiness underneath. The man who seems to crave admiration isn't simply hungry for attention. He's fighting to survive. He needs the reflection of others to confirm his existence. Without admiration, he doesn't know who he is. His entire identity depends on how others see him, which means his power only exists as long as people believe in it. The moment the audience looks away, his illusion begins to crumble. This is why narcissists cannot stand silence. They cannot tolerate indifference. They provoke, manipulate, and charm, not because they enjoy it, but because they must. The silence of others feels like death to them, a reminder that without validation, they are invisible. So, they perform louder, bigger, grander. They try to appear like gods, but inside, they feel like ghosts. That's the real tragedy. Their lives are spent maintaining a mask they can never remove, because if they take it off, they fear there will be nothing left underneath. And so, the narcissist obeys his illusions. He becomes the servant of the false image he created long ago. The confident man, the irresistible lover, the unstoppable achiever. He is ruled by the constant need to protect that identity from collapse. Every argument, every manipulation, every betrayal serves one purpose: to keep the illusion alive. The power you see is not authentic authority. It's the exhausting effort to keep the truth buried. He isn't free to love, to trust, or to feel peace because those require honesty, and honesty would destroy the illusion. The real power in this dynamic, ironically, doesn't belong to him. It belongs to anyone who can see through the performance. When you stop reacting to the mask, when you stop feeding his illusion with fear or admiration, you take back your power. Because once you see that the narcissist's confidence is a costume, his control loses its grip on you, you realize he's not the master. He's the actor trapped in his own play, endlessly performing for an audience that keeps walking away. And when you finally step out of the theater, his power ends, because the show cannot go on without your attention. Shame is the shadow that trails every narcissistic man, though he'll spend his entire life pretending it doesn't exist. He hides it behind arrogance, anger, and manipulation, but it's always there, whispering that he is not enough. This deep, gnawing shame is the first invisible master that owns him. It's the wound that created his false self in the first place. Long before he became charming, confident, or cruel, there was a boy who learned that being real was dangerous. Somewhere in his past, he felt small, unseen, or unworthy. That pain never healed. It simply transformed into armor, and that armor became the narcissist you now see. Every cruel word he throws, every act of superiority is a shield against that shame. When he belittles you, it's not truly about you. It's about silencing the voice inside him that calls him worthless. The irony is, the more shame he feels, the more he must project it outward. He cannot bear to carry it, so he gives it to you. He makes you feel the humiliation he's trying to escape. If you ever wondered why he can't take accountability, why he twists every truth into your fault, it's because admitting he's wrong would force him to touch that unbearable shame again. To him, being wrong isn't just a mistake, it's annihilation. Shame becomes the architect of his life. It tells him to wear masks, to control others, to manipulate reality. It drives him to seek admiration, because being adored helps him forget that deep inside he feels defective. But admiration never lasts long enough. The moment it fades, shame returns like a storm. That's why he's addicted to attention and domination, because he's not chasing love, he's running from shame. Every relationship, every success, every achievement is a temporary escape from that haunting belief that he is nothing. What makes this so tragic is that the narcissist can never stop running. He can never rest because shame never sleeps. Even when he's smiling, even when he's winning, the shadow follows. It whispers that he's a fraud, that he's unworthy of love, that if anyone truly saw him, they'd leave. And so he keeps performing, hurting, pretending. He cannot allow anyone close enough to see his wounds because intimacy threatens exposure. Love terrifies him because love would require truth, and truth would expose the shame he's built his entire life to hide. When you understand this, his cruelty begins to make sense. It doesn't excuse it, but it explains it. You realize he's not driven by strength, but by terror. The terror of being seen as he truly is. Shame is his master, his cage, and his tormentor. And as long as he keeps obeying it, he'll keep destroying everything that could ever save him. The only real power you have is to stop trying to rescue him from a wound he refuses to face. Because you can't heal someone who's still protecting the thing that's killing them. Fear is the second invisible master that rules every narcissistic man. It's the force behind his anger, the reason for his control, and the secret that keeps him chained to his false self. On the surface, he appears fearless, confident, dominant, in charge of everything around him. But that image is a lie carefully constructed to protect him from the truth. He is terrified. His fear isn't the kind that shows in trembling hands or nervous eyes. It's deeper, more corrosive. It's the fear of being exposed, the fear of being ordinary, the fear of being powerless. It's the constant panic that someone might see who he truly is underneath the mask, fragile, insecure, and lost. From childhood, he learned that vulnerability equals danger. Maybe he was shamed for expressing emotions, mocked for being weak, or ignored when he needed comfort. Over time, he built walls, tall, thick, and impenetrable. He convinced himself that control was safety. The more he could dominate others, the safer he felt. Every lie, every manipulation, every cruel tactic is his way of keeping fear at bay. He doesn't dominate because he's strong, he dominates because he's scared. The more terrified he feels inside, the more tightly he tries to control everything outside. This fear also explains his obsession with image. He fears being seen as wrong, small, or unworthy, so he crafts a perfect version of himself. Charming, intelligent, successful. But because that version isn't real, it constantly needs maintenance. One slip, one failure, one sign of weakness, and the illusion crumbles. That's why he reacts with rage when confronted or criticized. It's not anger you're seeing. It's panic disguised as aggression. He's defending his false self like his life depends on it because to him, it does. His identity is so fragile that a simple truth can feel like an attack. Fear also governs his relationship. True intimacy terrifies him because intimacy means exposure. It means allowing someone to see the parts of him he cannot bear to face. So he pushes love away the moment it gets too close. He sabotages connection, creates chaos, and rewrites reality to regain control. The closer you get to seeing the truth, the more dangerous you become to him. He'd rather destroy the relationship than let you see the fear that defines him. Every act of control is a mask for helplessness. Every lie is a defense against vulnerability. Every outburst is a desperate attempt to drown the terror of being truly known. The narcissist lives in constant tension, pretending to be powerful while being ruled by fear. He fears failure, rejection, exposure, and above all, insignificance. But no matter how tightly he holds on to control, fear always wins. It whispers through the cracks of his confidence, reminding him that his power is borrowed and his image temporary. When you see his fear clearly, everything changes. His dominance loses its magic. You realize the monster isn't fearless. He's frightened. And once you see that, you stop fearing him too. Validation is the third invisible master that commands every narcissistic man. It is the air he breathes, the currency he lives on, and the one thing he cannot live without. To the outside world, he appears self-assured, confident, and full of self-belief. But behind that facade lies a man who is utterly dependent on the approval of others. His sense of worth isn't built from within, it's borrowed from the eyes that admire him. Every compliment, every bit of praise, every ounce of attention temporarily fills the void inside him, but it never lasts. The moment admiration fades, so does his identity. This hunger for validation shapes everything he does. It dictates the way he speaks, dresses, and performs. He surrounds himself with people who will mirror back the image he wants to believe about himself: powerful, charming, superior. But this reflection must be constant. Without it, he begins to unravel. That's why narcissistic men are addicted to admiration the way addicts are addicted to their next fix. Validation is his drug, and attention is the needle. The high comes from being adored, but the crash is devastating. And when that crash comes, he scrambles to find his next source: a new admirer, a new achievement, a new conquest, anything to avoid facing the emptiness within. In relationships, this dependency becomes emotional warfare. He doesn't see you as a person with feelings, he sees you as a mirror. Your purpose is to reflect back the image he wants to see. When you admire him, he feels alive. When you question him, he feels attacked. If you stop giving him the praise he craves, he'll punish you with silence, rage, or manipulation until you resume your role. This isn't love, it's consumption. He feeds on your admiration until there's nothing left of you, and once you no longer provide that validation, he discards you as if you never mattered. This is why he can never truly connect. To connect would require authenticity, and authenticity would expose how hollow he feels. Validation becomes both his lifeline and his prison. It keeps him functioning, but never fulfilled. He must keep chasing approval because without it, he confronts the terrifying truth that beneath all the confidence, there is nothing. His entire existence depends on being seen a certain way, and that dependence makes him fragile. The praise that fuels him also enslaves him. What's most tragic is that the narcissist confuses validation for love. He believes admiration equals worth and control equals safety. But love requires vulnerability, and vulnerability threatens the illusion. So he stays trapped, forever performing, forever starving for a kind of affirmation he will never truly believe. When you finally understand this, his power fades. You see that he's not the master of attention, he's its captive. The man who seems so proud, so certain, is ruled by the constant need to be seen. And once you stop feeding that need, you set both him and yourself free. The power of a narcissistic man is an illusion, a carefully crafted performance designed to conceal deep dependence. What looks like dominance is, in truth, desperation. He must control others because he cannot control himself. He must be admired because he cannot stand his own reflection. The more he insists on being the master, the clearer it becomes that he is enslaved by the very image he projects. His entire existence depends on maintaining that illusion of superiority. Because if the mask ever slips, he would have to face the emptiness beneath it, and that is something he cannot bear. This illusion of power is his survival mechanism. He builds his world around manipulation and control, creating a fragile ecosystem where everyone around him is forced to orbit his ego. He dictates the rules, not because he is capable of leading, but because he fears losing relevance. Every relationship becomes a stage where he plays the hero, the victim, or the genius, whatever keeps him in the spotlight. But that spotlight is not warmth, it's a cage. It traps him in the exhausting task of performing perfection. He cannot be authentic because authenticity would expose his weakness. When a narcissistic man seems untouchable, it's because he has built his life on the fear of being seen. He uses intimidation, arrogance, and charm to make others believe in his strength. But beneath that mask, he's constantly seeking confirmation that the illusion is working. Every conversation, every victory, every argument is secretly about reassurance. Do you still believe I'm powerful? His life becomes a cycle of performance and panic. The applause must never stop because silence would mean exposure. His dependence on others for validation is his greatest vulnerability. He appears to control everyone, but in reality, he's controlled by everyone's perception of him. If the people around him stop feeding his ego, he collapses. That's why he works so hard to create confusion and self-doubt in others, because as long as you question yourself, you won't question him. His power relies entirely on your belief in it. The moment you see the pattern, the illusion cracks. And when the illusion breaks, so does the spell. You begin to realize that his manipulation was never about intelligence or confidence, it was about survival. He can't exist without control because control keeps his inner chaos hidden. The louder he shouts, the more fragile he is. The more he boasts, the more terrified he feels. His entire sense of identity depends on keeping others beneath him, so he never has to face the possibility that he is, in fact, small. The tragedy of the narcissist is that he mistakes dominance for strength and control for safety. He doesn't know that real power comes from self-awareness and truth, two things he spent his whole life running from. His empire of control isn't built on confidence, it's built on fear. And once you see that, his power over you dissolves because illusions only live as long as you believe in them. Freedom begins the moment you stop believing the performance. The narcissist's entire existence depends on convincing you that his mask is real, that his power is genuine, that his confidence is unshakable, that his love is deep. But once you see through it, everything changes. The illusion loses its hold because it cannot survive awareness. You stop reacting to his chaos, you stop chasing his approval, and you begin to recognize that his control was never strength. It was dependency dressed as dominance. His influence fades the moment you see him for what he is, a frightened man hiding behind an identity he cannot live without. When you no longer feed the illusion, you take back something sacred, your peace. Narcissists thrive on emotional reactions. They feed off your confusion, guilt, and empathy. Every time you try to prove your worth, defend your truth, or seek understanding, you unknowingly give him power. He learns what triggers you, what weakens you, what keeps you bound to his emotional gravity. But when you detach, when you stop performing in his play, the script falls apart. He loses his control because the entire performance requires an audience. Without your participation, his false reality collapses. Seeing through the mask doesn't mean confronting him or trying to expose his lies. That only pulls you back into his game. It means understanding deeply that you owe him no explanation, no validation, no emotional access. You begin to see that his approval was never real currency, it was manipulation. You realize that love, real love, isn't something you have to earn through suffering. It's not found in chaos or control, it's found in peace, truth, and mutual respect. Once you stop trying to change him, you begin to change yourself. Freedom doesn't come all at once. It arrives in quiet, powerful moments. The first time you don't respond to a provocate. The first time you see his anger as insecurity instead of authority. The first time you recognize that his silence is not punishment but powerlessness. Each time you reclaim a piece of your clarity, the illusion weakens. And in that clarity, you remember who you were before he distorted your reflection. Strong, intuitive, worthy. The narcissist's greatest fear is being seen for who he truly is, and your awareness is the one thing he cannot manipulate. When you stop believing in his story, you strip him of his only weapon, your belief. His arrogance, his charm, his control, all of it depended on you believing he was more powerful than he actually was. When you stop seeing the mask and start seeing the chains that bind him, you become untouchable. That's the real freedom. Not just leaving him, but leaving the illusion. It's when you walk away not in anger, but in understanding. You no longer need his validation, his approval, or his apology. You see him clearly, and in that clarity, you reclaim yourself, because the moment you stop admiring the mask, you finally remember your own power, and that's something he can never control.